always be this way for me, caged, enraged. But what should I tell my son? Things have changed. Things have improved. He is unlikely to experience racism in the same way I had when I was growing up. So how do I prepare him without infecting him? For me, sport had always been a great leveler, something that brought me solace, an escape in times of trouble. It was how my father, Keith, and I bonded. Before I could grip a mug, my father had already shoved a cricket bat and ball in my hands. We would go into our 30-foot back garden and play, my father bowling, me batting. He'd always bowl googlies at me, a deceptive delivery where the ball spins into the batsman's legs instead of going straight. A magic trick. As my father watched me swing wildly and miss, his shifty eyes would tighten, and his soft, narrow, light brown face would break into a cheeky smile before he'd launch into a story about back home, in Jamaica. My father's yearning for Jamaica and the role cricket played in transporting him back home, albeit for brief moments, made me recognize that sport was more than a game. It had often been the case that white people assumed that the color of my skin and my height ensured athletic excellence. Upon first meeting me, most would ask, "Do you play basketball?" "No," I'd reply, never knowing what else to say. I would later come to realize that for well-meaning white folks, in bowing to a more favorable stereotype, black people being good at sport, they were addressing their own discomfort. For them, a conversation starter and some solace. For me, a conversation closer and anxiety. It offered positive images of black folks at a time when we were bombarded with negative images in the media. Back in the 70s and early 80s, the few shows that featured black actors, like Mixed Blessings, Rising Damp, and Love Thy Neighbor, always emphasized the difference between Caribbean or African culture and the English. They forever depicted us as aliens, sources of fundamental difference, conflict, and unrest. The gags were often cheap, cruel, and exploitative. Sport, to some degree, balanced out these negative images. It has always been difficult for me to separate race and sport. Alongside music, sport has for many years been a platform where blacks have excelled, where we've been allowed to excel. Whether you like sport or not, black athletes were the most visible contributors to British society. Black people had of course built Britain, literally. We had constructed, supplemented, and indeed strengthened the country. We had done so under forced labour, under poor conditions, with little or no rights, little or no credit. The black athletes' impacts had been more difficult to conceal, their contributions measurable. Goals, runs, times, wickets, knockouts, tries. This led to wins, which led to larger audiences, which led to more money, which led to more media coverage, which led to more sponsorship, which led to a higher profile for the black athlete. They were symbolic of everything we had achieved in this country, for this country. In addition, they seemed to be the only black people in the public eye who were embraced by whites, even if they had to win adoration through a torrent of boos and unconditional allegiance to Jack or George. Yet at the same time, so much of what happened to black athletes on the field of play reflected the issues faced by black people in British society. Growing up in the 80s, the popular racism being trumpeted by the mainstream media, moral panics about blacks being a threat to cohesion, to jobs, to safety, weaved its way into sport. The crowds were often hostile towards black athletes, and commentary was often stereotypical, preoccupied with our physical attributes while constantly underestimating our sporting IQ. Institutional racism also restricted any hope of black people attaining positions of power, or commanding the authority to complain about their treatment. Thatcher told the nation how Britain had given so much to the world. She told the masses how much she loved Britain, wanted to protect Britain, valued Britain. Didn't doubt it for a second. But she also encouraged a climate where you are either with us, Britain, or against us. She made it a point that to question power and privilege as a root cause of social disparities would only make you an enemy of the state. Not the state's fault, your fault. You are free to dream, free to succeed, in a cage. Not our fault you can't break free. You're in or out. Immigrants? Well, those of color.